Welcome to the Investor Shed Podcast with Nick Beveridge, the ultimate source for all things investing and beyond. For free tools, tips, and tricks, go to northidahorei.com. Today's guest on the Investor Shed Podcast is Kelly Clark. Kelly is the general manager of Rendell Homes. After working in insurance, Kelly was introduced to investor clients and has been involved ever since. Kelly and Nick discuss mentor hacking, the importance of investor meetups, house flipping, and much more. Stay tuned. You start.
Me start. Hi, Nick. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Kelly Clark.
Thank you for having me. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I like to make things awkward right off the gate.
That's what I appreciate about you. I was like,
thank you.
I have an awkward opportunity today. I think I'm going to make the most of it. Wait, who should I call? Oh, Nick. Hey.
Yeah, you want to come hang out?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Kelly Clark, everybody. So are you working full-time now with Trevor?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm general manager of Rendell Homes at this time. Yeah, so I work full-time with Trevor. And I only work with Trevor exclusively now.
So tell me about your background with real estate investing.
I notice a lot of your podcast guests have years and years of experience, and
Some, yeah.
Yeah.
Some are newer.
Yeah, some are newer, but I'm definitely
fresh.
in the newer category.
Uh-huh.
So about 2 years ago, I met some real estate investors, and I was immediately hooked, intrigued, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's where I want my career to go. I was at the end of raising my kids.
Oh, okay.
And wanted to jump back into work full time.
Where'd you meet the investors? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I just
stumble upon people.
No, I was working at an insurance company.
Oh, okay.
And just met various people, various clients through there.
Yeah.
So then I started probing and asking them more questions, did a little bit of research, and I thought that's where I want my career to be.
Yeah.
And that was less than 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
So then I did a couple of things to what I feel kind of like jumpstart my career. Is the first thing I did was I approached or got introduced to other investors who then I asked if I could work for them.
Yeah.
And so working for a few different people really gave me kind of the inside exposure on what it's like to be an investor.
So what type of work would you do for these investors?
A general admin, office manager, data entry, accounting, phones, just really anything. But I got to see, because I was inside their businesses, I got to see all kinds of things. And then more importantly, I got to ask questions. So it wasn't just do this, but then I got to ask, okay, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really valuable.
I think that's kind of an ingenious way to go about it. You know, if you want to be an investor, why don't you go work for them? Like I'm not calling myself a genius or anything, but like I know I've always wanted to have a real estate sales team. When I first got into real estate, and I read that book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
I read that.
So when I moved back up here, I decided I'd try to work for a top producing agent and just kind of see, you know, help their team out, of course, be a buyer's agent, whatever they need me to do, but kind of learn their systems and protocols and how do they actually operate a real estate sales team. So I did a very similar thing. I went to work for somebody for about a year.
Yeah.
And then I branched off and started my own thing.
Yeah. That's the way to go, is to work for people. And, you know, I've heard people say, oh, volunteer your time or work for somebody for free. But I was like, well, I think they should pay me. I'm getting this stuff
Yeah,
done.
I mean, you know how to do office admin work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of investors will pay for that.
Yeah. So one of the people I started working with was David Clinton, who you know.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Yep.
A lot of people know him.
Yeah. And he's he's an investor, but he's also a mentor to other investors. So I felt like I was mentor hacking because I got, you know, he was paying me to get work done, but then I was always still picking his brain on everything and trying to figure out how does he do it? How does he train people and things like that? So I call it mentor hacking. So that was like my first big leap because I didn't want to take a slow path to be an investor. So I think working for other investors, mentor hacking was a good thing. The other thing I did was back in the day before the pandemic in Washington, we could have real estate investor meetings. We could have any kind of meeting.
That's right.
So I started one of those.
Yep.
And I knew that I didn't know hardly anything, but I knew how to bring people together. I knew how to book a room. I knew how to invite people and all that kind of stuff. So I started an investment group in Spokane.
Yeah.
Which obviously got shut down and still hasn't been able to reopen.
That's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I know that's what launched my business here in Idaho.
Oh, yes. You've said that many times.
Many times, yeah. But it's so important to be able to have some sort of a platform where you're just bringing people together every month. And you don't have to be the expert. You just have to be good at organizing a group to come together a mastermind.
Yeah. So I got to meet people, the attendees, but then it also got me talking and meeting with who the leaders are in our area. Whereas normally I couldn't, call Nick Beveridge and say, hey, can you spend an hour and train me? He'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. But if I said, hey, can you be a speaker at my group and I get to sit and listen to you for an hour, then that's totally worth it.
Pretty smart way to do it.
Yeah. So I felt like that. Those two things.
I think the topic should be the bird topic. What do you think?
Yeah. So I think those two things, were so beneficial for me launching to where I got to what I feel like is in a short amount of time, less than 2 years.
2 years is pretty quick.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So what attracted you about real estate investing? Was it rentals or flips or something else?
It wasn't any particular thing. It was just the whole category of all the things. I didn't necessarily immediately get hooked on one thing. I have done one flip house. Having worked with David and things like that, I thought, well, I'm ready to jump in and do an investment. And so I approached David and I said, would you ever consider doing a deal with me? And he said, yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So at the end of 2019, we bought a house in Colbert and had a contractor renovate it, and then we resold it at a profit.
Yeah.
And so it was a good, positive learning experience for sure. I mean, things that you can't learn by reading it or reading someone else's story. And then having, essentially David the expert to walk me through, and I got to ask questions, and, he brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience. Yeah.
So could I ask about that one at least? How'd you find that deal?
He found it through, through his connections. He knows, people know that he buys from wholesalers. Yeah. So he had gotten an email about it, and then it was close to where I live. So I was kind of boots on the ground since I was so close to it, and, penciled out for us. So, so he ended up finding the deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So fix and flip. That's how you started off.
One of those. Yep.
I'm sure it was probably hard, but simple, right? Like, it's a simple process. You buy something, you fix it up, and you resell it.
Yes.
But there's so much more to it than that.
Yes. And then a few hours after you list it on the MLS, then that's when the first realtor goes through and notices a flood in the basement.
Oh, wow. You had one of those.
Yeah. So, yes, it was just that easy.
Simple, not easy.
Oh,
That's what I want to clarify again.
Yeah, it was
you can rewind that. I said simple.
It was simply a flood.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a fix and flip that was that easy. Well, I mean, I guess I've had a couple, but the majority are very hard.
Yes.
Like fixing and flipping houses looks great on a half-hour episode of
yes.
HGTV, but
yes.
it is months and months of lots of attention.
Right.
I mean, you're doing everything to a house most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, the construction crew that we hired was swinging the hammers, but yeah. Yeah,
but you still got to watch them, and you still got to, there's a lot to it. We don't have to go into it because I'm sure that can take the whole episode.
Yeah, sure.
So what did you learn from that?
I learned that if I have HD TV expectations, I'm going to be pretty disappointed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That things that could go wrong do go wrong. I learned to rely on other people and their expertise, like relying on David for what he's really great at. He found the deal, he found us the extra money we needed.
Yeah.
The general contractor we work with had great design ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with an agent to sell it, Andrew Kusuda. He's a Keller Williams Spokane guy.
Okay.
And he got us a great over asking price.
Great.
Much higher than
even with the flooded basement.
Yeah. So I learned to rely on the expertise of who was around me and stuff. So that was really helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me of this house that I converted from, I've talked about it a few times, but I converted it from a single family to a fourplex.
Yes.
And like the day I was going in to like film, like it's finally done, there's a flood.
Oh, it was that day?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And there was a leak, and it had a basement unit as well, and it was leaking from the top, and it had so the sewer line in the front yard was broken. Didn't realize that, and this toilet was installed incorrectly and left running, and overnight it just was flooding the house, and there's the broken pipe in the yard was then noticeable. And there's who knows how many years of feces in the yard, and we had more extensive drywall damage in the basement again. And this was right when I thought this nightmare house that already went like $150,000. It went 110 grand over budget. I spent 150. It was a $40,000 budget. And it's still like, it was that last little nail in the coffin that was just, actually it was kind of interesting. I think I took it well.
If you're not still in therapy, then you took it well.
Because I just got beat up for a year, so what was one more punch? But I know that feeling. I know that feeling of thinking that you're done and then there's a flood.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad flood. It was water in the basement when you don't want water on the floor anywhere. But so it wasn't that bad. So I guess I should be even more grateful.
Oh, it's fine.
It wasn't as bad as Nick's, so there you go.
It turned out to be a great investment when it was all said and done.
And you're still cash
my best
flowing
rental
for you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's by far my best performing rental I have. Just took a lot of work. Yeah. Okay, so you're done with that fix and flip, right?
Yep.
What are you on to next?
Well, as part of doing the networking meetings, I invited Trevor Rendell to come and speak. So that's how I had actually seen him speak at the Keller Williams Spokane group. Mm-hmm. And so I invited him to speak at my group, and so I got to know him better there. And I think he was my last or second to last speaker before we got shut down in Washington.
Right.
And so then he, at the time, he started as a general contractor, and then he had started to do some flip houses himself.
Yep.
Shutdown happens, and he was going crazy, like most of us.
Yeah.
And so a month into the shutdown, he decided that he's going to start an acquisitions department so that he can do a lot more flips. So he called me and he said, "Are you?" Actually, he said, "Do you know of somebody who's available?" And I had more time on my hands because of the shutdown. And so I went to work for Trevor in April 2020, full time.
Yeah.
And
so it's almost been a year.
So it's almost been a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the company has grown exponentially, and then Trevor's a super generous person, super smart, and he's let me grow with the company. So that's how I got to be general manager in less than a year.
That's great. So you're running the crew.
Well, there's somebody who runs all the construction side. Yeah.
I just mean the crew in general.
Yes. Yeah. So we have essentially two halves to the company. Yeah. We still have all the general contractor crew, and then we have the investment side, and I'm on the investment side.
Right on.
So yeah.
So when you first went to work with him, what was your main job, if you don't mind me asking? Was it to get him
admin
organized?
for Trevor and his ideas and implementing them.
Okay.
Things like that. Yeah.
And then he got into acquisitions, and then is he still mostly doing fix and flips or wholesaling or?
All of the above and 100 more things. Yeah. So we do wholesaling. So we have automated acquisitions set up and running now. So we're doing wholesaling still. Yeah. We haven't done a flip in the last month or two, but we're always open to it if it pencils out and if our crew has enough time in their schedule.
Right.
So then this year we have gotten into new home builds, and we have 2 on deck, and then we also are doing land acquisition and land development. And the end of last year we started doing private money lending.
Wow.
So we lend to other investors for their deals. So yeah, it's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, you do a lot too. You're not just one dimensional. What are all the things you do?
Quite a bit too now.
Same,
we also,
right?
yeah. I mean, we got into new construction building as well.
Okay.
So right now I think I have 14 projects or so that I'm working on, various different types of like burr projects, fix and flips, new construction. And they're all in different phases. And then I've got the real estate sales team. If you add me, there's 11 real estate agents on that team now.
I didn't realize you had grown that much. You've grown that much lately, or
it was pretty recent, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we just brought on 5 new agents in the last 2.5-3 months. So we doubled in size in just the last few months.
Wow.
In 2020, we sold 117 homes. And
you had a goal of 100, right?
We had a goal of 120.
Oh! Oh!
And so we were going to take, and we had these goals now where if we hit so many units, we'll go to Mexico. But if we're short, we'll still go to Mexico. You just got to pay up that percentage difference. So people only had to pay like $60 to go to Mexico this year.
Yeah.
For a week, all expenses paid, all inclusive. So we had a good time. We just came back from that last month.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah. So I've got that going on. I've got the media company. You met Jeremy. He's one of the photographers. And we've got another full-time guy that does mostly editing and headshots.
Oh, okay.
So we service real estate agents with their listing needs, and we're starting to get much busier. It was a little hit and miss the first 6 months, 8 months, as it would be, I guess. You're starting a new media company.
Yeah, or
what kind of media companies just explode right away? But I knew there was a need for it, with the rapid growth of real estate agents starting to use professional photography.
They weren't before?
Not always, no. Oh. When I started, it was very rare. So I started about 10 years ago, and you would only use a professional photographer if you had like a luxury listing. Otherwise, you just do photos yourself. That's what most agents did it. And then over time, you started seeing more and more as the internet got more popular for searching real estate, and people started to get more subjective over my house looks better with professional photos versus
Instagram
not. Right? Yeah.
Helps, right?
Yeah. So there's a need for real estate photographers, and I knew there was only like a couple of major players in town, and there's 2,000 agents, and I was just doing the math, and I'm like, my buddy's a photographer. Let's see if we can do this.
Yeah.
So we're still doing that, and at the same time, they also have the skills to create video. So I wanted to eventually kind of morph it into doing a show over time. And so right now we're doing a fix and flip in Bonners Ferry, and we're doing our first actual like HGTV style show of it.
Okay.
So that'll be out in about a month or so.
What places or channels are you putting it out on?
YouTube for now.
Okay.
Just YouTube, our website, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But I just think I have it in my mind that I think that will be entertaining for people locally to watch something like that locally, because I think there's a lot of people that like watching those kind of shows.
But I would think it would be excellent marketing piece for people in California to see, like, okay, who's blowing up in North Idaho?
Yeah. Here's a team of real estate savvy, investors
right.
that are agents that also have a show.
Right, and understand the luxury
locally,
market.
And they're all doing deals. And
yeah.
So that's what I had in my head. And the servicing real estate agents, I think that was just to get it off the ground, to have a constant source of income, to be able to afford doing a show down the road.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You have to fund all that ahead of time.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would be quite expensive to just have 2 full-time guys hired to follow you around all the time. Yeah. We don't make that much money yet.
So who helps you with all of these 14 projects you have going on?
So there's a lot of different partners that I have.
Okay.
There's 8 of them are with a builder up north.
Oh, okay.
So it's a 3-way partnership between myself, Tyler Wagner, and the builders. I mostly just coordinate funding and the staging and that kind of stuff, or like help with. I'm very, very hands off, but still kind of involved in the design of what we should build, where, how much we should spend, those kind of things. But I'm not swinging a hammer or anything like that, or managing the job site. That's not my job. Yeah. I'm not doing any of the pre-construction work, going to HOA meetings and that kind of stuff. So we've got good partners for that.
That's great, though, that between the partners, you figured out who to use for, who should do this, who should do that, and tap into each person's expertise.
Exactly. Yeah. It's working well so far. I've got some other little projects going on, but those are the ones that absorb most of my time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, people are curious about you too, not just, what your guest is doing, especially, because you're always on here. So people want to know, what's the latest and what Nick's doing.
That's the latest. I'm crazy.
Yeah. Okay, all 8 people who are going to watch this video.
Yeah, all 8 people. There's 14 now, okay?
14 what? You are exploding.
I know. 14 viewers.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea how many people actually listen to this. I'd have to go back and look. But,
but talking about partnerships and expertise and things like that, one thing that, like Trevor and I have learned is, who you partner with and who you do business with and who you rely on, your experts in various categories, is so key. Like I didn't really realize that until like this last year when we've had, because it was just he and I starting from, nothing in terms of acquisitions, but just partnering with different people and adding value to people, and then them adding value to us. It's just been a great experience. And then you kind of figure out who is not a good fit for you. I mean, they have talent, expertise, knowledge in some area, and then you realize, they're better suited somewhere else, and then you free each other up to pursue better opportunities. But that's definitely something I've learned.
It could be tricky to figure out the right partnership for the right occasion. I just think it's so super important to make sure that your goals align with whatever partner that you have and what your end goal is, and that they have a very similar end goal.
Right.
Like,
and
for instance,
my partner. And then how you want to get there, too. Not everybody wants to get there in the same way. So what were you saying about
well, for instance, like my partner, Jo Turner, she helped me build this real estate team. We had very similar goals when we got together. And that was, we want to build a real estate team of savvy investor agents to help run our team because we don't want to. and that was so it's okay for me not to show up here and there.
Right.
And it's okay for her not to show up here and there because we had those similar goals. If maybe you didn't share or talk about those kind of things, you might maybe feel a little resentful for someone who's gone on vacation for a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm pulling all the weight and you're going to be making half the money. This is like, we're okay with taking our sweet time, or, we have a very flexible working relationship with what our roles are because we already set it up in advance that we want to create a machine that runs itself. And since we've done that, now it's just about, putting fuel on the fire and as it needs it.
Right.
But I feel like we already have the systems in place where it pretty much runs itself, and we just need to be there for the mentorship and handing out leads. I'm sure there's plenty of fine tuning still that needs to be there, but
yeah, I mean, that's
I feel like the
be.
agents that are on our team know that it's worth being on our team,
right?
Because we care for them. We want to make sure that they're making the right decisions, and that they're treated fairly, and they get a great compensation and all that. So,
yeah, that's super similar with what we have with Trevor and Rendell Homes. Yeah, just hiring great people, keeping great people, retaining great people, but then creating an environment where they want to contribute to the team, that they're all in, that they are cared for and have flexibility, and them and their well-being and their families are more important than whatever contract has to get out the door that day. So all of that creates a certain culture, and then you find who's great for that culture and you stick with it.
Yeah. Another great partnership that I have is with my brother Sean when we do fix and flips, because we have the same interest of profitability in mind. Even though he's the contractor,
right?
He's not getting paid being the contractor, so it's
so
in his
you don't
best
hire
interest.
him as a line item. He's a profit sharing.
He's a profit sharer.
Okay.
So it's in his best interest to make sure that things are done smoothly, effectively, done right the first time, and we're going to share on the profits at the end. I'm not paying him as we go, so that things just get gets kicked down the road, so he makes more and more money the longer we stay on the job.
Right.
That you got to make sure that your interests are in line.
Right. But you haven't always used him as your contractor, have you? For all your projects?
For most of my fix and flips, yeah, because we usually, but it depends. On my rentals, we're pretty separate.
Oh, okay.
Just because we don't know where our interests are going to be 30 years from now. But on our short-term fix and flips, it's a pretty simple arrangement. I'm going to help figure out the money, acquire the place. You're on site pretty much every day that you can be, and I'll sell it.
Yeah, there you go.
Simple.
Yeah,
we're brothers. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I work harder than he does. Sometimes he works harder than me.
Sure.
And we're okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, does he also have other clients, or do you keep him busy all year?
He's trying to get away from working for people as a general contractor.
Oh, okay.
And just trying to work on his own projects, his own rentals or fix and flips that we work on together. He's built spec homes on his own now, so he's done. He keeps himself pretty busy. He's a go-getter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't always have time for all my projects. Yeah. But it's a good arrangement when we do have a fix and flip, and he's got the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great that you've worked out. So it's a win-win for both of you, for sure.
It most of the time is. Yep.
Yeah.
And when it's pretty unbalanced, we usually make it fair, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was it like joining Trevor at first? Like, what was he doing, like, admin wise? Was it kind of a mess when he started?
No, not really, because he had
curious.
just had acquisition ideas.
Okay.
And so it was pretty easy to jump in, because essentially we were starting at the ground level. So he did have some acquisition ideas, but because I had been at that point studying all this, reading books, coming to, going to my own REI meetings, the Keller Williams Spokane, your meeting every week. It's or every month. Yeah,
yeah, it's okay.
So I was studying. I hadn't implemented much at that point. Mm-hmm. But it was really good, because he came with ideas, I came with ideas that I had studied. So we launched pretty well. We tried a number of things, and as with anything, you research something, try something, fine tune it. We really follow the 80-20 principle. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's where 20% of your efforts pretty much give you 80% of your results.
Yes, yeah. So keeping that in mind, and like constantly measuring, constantly analyzing, tracking to see where is our 80-20, and then dial it down. So even though we would try a lot of things, we just kept dialing down on the 20%. And even that, I mean, at least a few times a week, someone in the office will say something about 80-20, you know, and it's like, okay, how does this fit into the 80-20? Is that a good use of your time? Is this a good use of resources and money?
That's
and
like,
pretty
smart. You guys keep revisiting it so you don't lose track.
Several times a week, absolutely.
Oh, several times a week.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
And it's like something has to pass the 80-20 test to kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So that just really keeps the business continually reevaluating, and then, you know, discarding, deleting, delegating, whatever it is, things that he shouldn't focus on 80-20 wise, I shouldn't focus on 80-20 wise. So it's really helpful, really good mindset to have.
Can you give me an example of that, like where maybe you guys tested that against something and decided to do away with it?
We've tried different marketing techniques for our wholesaling business. You know, how are we going to acquire these distressed properties? How are we going to find distressed sellers? So we, you know, try something and then analyze the numbers after a week, a month, a few months, and then decide, okay, well, this isn't penciling out. Yeah, it's bringing in some, but it's not bringing in enough, or it's too much of a time suck for the dollar amount or whatever it is. So
oh gosh, I can totally relate to that.
Oh really? How so?
Well, I mean, I've been a real estate agent for 10 years now, and I've played with a lot of different types of marketing.
Oh, okay.
And 90% of the marketing efforts that I've done like acquired like zero sales out of it. So there's a lot I just don't do anymore, because I do track every transaction I've ever had. We track it a certain category. Where did that lead come from?
Right.
You know, what was the source? And it's almost always just personal referral, sphere type of influence, or came out of the REI group, or a past client. Very, very little from cold calling or door knocking or open houses, sending out mail, like such little, like the amount of effort it takes to do all that
and
versus
money.
the amount of effort and money to do. And well, like realtor.com leads, you know, we spent like $40 a lead for a couple of years, trying to make that work. And I think we broke even. But I mean, the amount of hours and hours it took just to call all these people, cultivate them, try to put them, you know, these leads that you pay for rather than what you get for free. It's just, then if you were looking at it that way, then we really lost money because of all the opportunity time that we spent trying to break even on our marketing expenses.
Right.
I'm pretty pro analyzing that and making sure that that is what we're doing making sense.
Yeah.
Or should we just keep doing what's free?
Right. But I mean, there's people that don't look back like that and then plan for the future, or, you know, I think that's so important. I think that's what can set the successful ones and the ones that are still going strong, and even better 10 years later, from the ones who aren't, you know, the ones that are still just swimming in whatever. So, but I mean, we even do 80-20 with like time. You know, someone will say, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And then someone will ask, well, is that a part of your 80 or your 20? And then figure out, oh, yeah, that someone else is better suited to do that. Or even 80-20 with employees. You know, we don't keep all, you know, 80 that we hire and whatever. I mean, you know, I mean, we haven't hired 80 people, but you know what I mean? So we're not afraid to 80-20 our time, 80-20 our money, you know, release people who are better suited, you know, let them take their top 20% and contribute to a different organization, you know, that kind of thing. So we implement
makes a lot of
everywhere.
sense.
Yeah.
So are you in charge of hiring and firing?
No, everything's a group decision.
A group decision?
Yeah. I mean, Trevor's obviously the leader, but and I think that's why one of the things I appreciate most about being there is we're so collaborative, that the best ideas rise
Yeah.
To the top. And sometimes you go to bat for what you think is best, and sometimes other people think something else is, or the group thinks a different decision is best, but it's very collaborative.
Yeah.
So I can't think of too many decisions where someone in the group just flat out disagreed and stayed that way to the end or whatever. It's more
Right.
like, oh, I see your point, or oh, I hadn't thought of that before, or whatever. So I think being that collaborative, then you get to implement the best ideas, and sometimes it's tiny little things and sometimes it's really big stuff, but we found that to work really well.
So what, if you don't mind me asking more about your business?
Yeah, sure.
Speaking about the 80/20 and knowing that you guys do quite a bit of different services now, what would you say maybe if you had to choose one of those that maybe wasn't, is there one that maybe isn't meeting that rule? Private lending, construction work, flipping houses, new construction?
Well, the lending doesn't take up much time.
Okay.
But it's really great to be connected with people in that way. But I can't think of anything where we're really kind of breaking that rule. I'm going to become a LPO this year, licensed practice officer.
Okay.
So that I can close real estate transactions. Now, is that going to be the biggest profit center for the company? Probably not.
Yeah.
But will it be a good wraparound service for the other things that we do? Absolutely.
Right.
The great thing about all that you offer is it's all integrated, and it's beneficial for you and your clients and your partners and things like that. So we kind of have the same approach that if it's a good wraparound service and it's not too much of a time and money suck, then we'll implement it and things like that if it can benefit us in other ways. Like you were saying, the paying for the realtor leads, realtor.com leads, you gain clients out of it who then hopefully become repeat clients or referral clients. So if you say in and of itself, was that a waste of money for a few years? You could say that, but if it at the time helped you, move forward in other directions, then you could say, that was positive.
And you could look at it that way too. I just know going back, the amount of time that we did put into that, not just the money, we could have just easily been doing what we've already been doing and gain clients as well. With a higher closing rate.
Right.
That's what I meant there, but I know what you mean. Yeah, they can still, even though those old leads could still turn into new business.
Right.
It's just not the approach that made the most sense.
Right.
When you're looking at returns on your time and money. Yeah. So what's next for you guys?
Well, conquering land development. We have a project director now who does our land acquisition, new builds, and land development.
So are you guys building like spec homes? Are you pre-selling them?
All of the above. So like right now we're working on something that I think is going to be 16 houses, 16 lots, somewhere in there of land.
Okay.
And then we'll sell off the lots. So let's say we sell a dozen of them, either to a builder who wants all 12 or to 12 individual people.
Yeah.
And then we'd build 2 spec houses out of it. So really anything that pencils out in that category is on the table. If someone came in and said, I want all 14 of them, here's a big fat check, we'd say, okay, we won't build the spec houses then. So we're not really set on anything, just trying to see, how can we make this profitable for a partner, for us, all those kinds of things. So
Right. Yeah. So when is there any word when COVID restrictions are going to get lifted where you guys can start meeting again? And do you think you'll start it up again?
Yeah, March 22nd is a lot of things go to 50%.
Oh, okay.
It's March 15th.
That's in like a week.
Yes, yeah. So March 22nd, like restaurants go to 50%. I think if certain venues can have, it's either 200 or 400 people. Mm-hmm. So they're expecting a lot more to be lifted. So
that's good.
If we can have 50 people in a room, then we'll reinstate our, and I ran my own real estate investing group.
Yeah.
Before I started working with Trevor, but I'm gonna reignite it, but just do it as Rendell Homes is offering this networking group. I'm not gonna stay out on my own and go to some other location. We'll have it in our office.
Oh, okay.
And
is your office? Spokane?
Yep, Spokane, near the fairgrounds.
Near the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
Great.
so it's a pretty central location, and it'd be great to have people in the office anyway.
Yeah,
so.
If you guys start it up, send me an invite.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, can I invite you to be a speaker?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right.
I don't mind.
Good, fabulous.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to chat about?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate it.
It's come a long way in a couple of years.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like
great.
I see, like having Sean Dolan speak, who's like amazing, has done this for 2 decades, and I'm, squeaking out my almost 2 little years. But, I guess having, come to your networking group and networked with so many people within the group, it's just been such a valuable education. And I guess my encouragement to people is, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, I'm not 20 whatever anymore.
Yeah.
And so
That's
if
okay,
I can, but it's like, if I can have a career, raise my kids, and then jump into totally something different and catapult myself in a short amount of time, then I feel like, well, if I can do it, then anyone can do it, whether they're, 21 and just starting out and want to see themselves in an awesome place in 2 years, they can do that.
Yep.
So
I use that same logic.
How so?
Oh, just like if that guy can do it,
oh.
I know I can do it.
Yeah. So that's exactly.
It's a great way to trick your brain into doing something you don't want to do, or you may be afraid of doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
awesome. Well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks
Appreciate
for having me. Always
Yeah.
good to see you.
Wave bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Shed podcast. If you'd like to attend our live networking events, they're held the first Thursday of every month at the Keller Williams office in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and start at 6:30 p.m. We also have our Sandpoint, Idaho meetup held at Laughing Dog Brewery the second Thursday of every month at 6 p.m.